All right. Setting up some last minute things just to make sure. And I realized that's okay. I'll fix the date. But in any case, I'll fix that here in just a second and get started. Hey everybody, my name's Lanzer, and I've been in the PlanetSide community since beta, and I've done a lot of community growth type efforts, everything from server smash, PlanetSide battles, Guinness World Record, different negotiations with Electronic Sports League. I've wrote a lot of gaming articles and done different esports podcasts for PlanetSide, and recently helped organize one of the armored sides, and also the Echoes of Vanu, which, if you haven't watched season 1, please do so now. Flashy is a pro. You'll want to watch the Echoes of Vanu season 1. So yeah, today's talk is a little bit different. I didn't actually plan on doing this 2 weeks ago. This sort of combined arms thing was kind of going around in my head, but I hadn't quite yet nailed down that I would be doing a StratSide talk until some things last week set in motion a discussion I wanted to have. So combined arms is and has been a very important part of the PlanetSide 2 experience since it, probably even PlanetSide 1, but since I got into it during beta. And you could say there are two camps, two types of people. One is the more infantry focused, there are many different names, but just hardcore infantry types. Then there's the more casual type players, and generally the casuals group together, and there's more of them. And generally the really good infantry players group together, and there's less of them. So that over the years, as far as I've been participating in the community, that's had some different parts. What am I trying to say? It's caused some problems. It's caused a rift, and I haven't really seen that rift get mended to a great extent over the years. It's just always been, you do your thing, I'll do mine. Like you'll zerg me, and I'll I'll farm you, sort of deal. We just had to coexist on live because that's where we all met to play. Different things like outfit wars kind of shined a spotlight on that difference, and in some cases really showcased how well the infantry teams play together, and things like community clash, some lane smashes really showcased the compartmentalized infantry play, and it's really opened my eyes, at least in terms of what the other side has to deal with. And I'm on the Combined Arms. I've been a part of Combined Arms since I started playing beta with CCG, Crazy Carnage Gaming. That then split into 1STS and Infamous. I was with the 1STS group, and they later merged into Devil Dogs. So I've been a Devil Dog all this time for, 8 years, something like that. And as you may or may not know, Devil Dogs is a very, very heavy user of Combined Arms. And we do so to such an extent that I think it's about time that they just kind of spill the beans. Tell you all the things that we do, because we take it to I would call it a professional level. We just, a lot of us are prior military. A lot of us have like PM or other sorts of jobs that really lend itself to this sort of thing, high-level organization, large-scale warfare type thing. Just we apply it to a game instead, and we call that Combined Arms. So I would love to share with you the sort of things that we've done, and the things that I've seen many other Combined Arms outfits do to just share the knowledge. In some ways, I'm hoping to build a bridge and just present to you what the facts are. This is a really hard discussion to approach because Combined Arms means so many different things to so many different people, and you could just slice and dice this topic many, many different ways. So I just had to sit down, put it all on paper, and then pick a direction, and that's what you're going to see here today. So let's go ahead and jump into... Here we go. So the title of this talk is called Combined Arms and How It's Used to Win, and then the parens is against you, because in many cases we are fighting against outfits who aren't using Combined Arms, or like the infantry outfits, or the whatever they are. And I've seen so many discussions take place over Reddit, over podcasts, different mediums that either express frustration. You hear the term Zerg fit a lot, and be like, oh, they're just zerging down a path. Well, I can 100% guarantee you that is not all that you're seeing. And sitting down to put down on paper what we do every day as an outfit, that was difficult. But I think I nailed it, and I had help doing it. So I think we've got a really good thing to show you here. So it's really just going to be me talking you through some of the things we've been doing for the past 10 years. And, yeah. So I'm going to talk about why this matters to a PlanetSide 2 player. Then I'll go into the scope of the talk, which is normally who am I talking to, who am I not talking to, what is this talk about, what is it not about. That way you can kind of get a good boundaries. And then working definitions. I use different words, and that was probably one of the hardest things to do, was to nail down exactly the definition of what it is I'm after, so that you can understand where I'm coming from, Lanzer, as a combined arms player for many years. But it might look different. It might be a different definition. So I'm putting down the definitions of what I'm referring to when I use these words, and then you can, tweak, tailor based on the different discussions you have with people outside of this. Then we'll go into how do we approach combined arms from a high level. What are the different elements that we consider when we look to approach large scale warfare, and what are the different facets of that to achieve victory. Then we'll go into the application of resources. How do we apply the things of combined arms to achieve results? And then 6, we'll delve into strategy, tactics, objectives, how that plays into the calculus of live play. And then finally, we'll delve into Ops Day, which many combined arms outfits, or just outfits in general, will have an Ops Day, which is like when they meet together as a group, same time, same place, same day, and just have a concerted, serious effort toward playing the game. Whereas every other day might just be they play loosely. That's not all outfits, but generally they'll have some sort of organized event day. And then we'll delve into the summary. Then we'll go over to the same things that have happened recently and things that are upcoming. Got a lot of cool stuff that on my mind, just whether or not I'll have the time to get to it. So, delving into the first part. Why does this matter to a PS2 player? Well, the bottom line is that combined arms happens everywhere on live. Either you are the outfit using combined arms against someone else, you are, it's being used against you, or you're watching it happen. Whether you know you're watching it or not, just combined arms happens all over the place. This game is such a massive scale. The MMO portion of it allows for a complex social apparatus that implements many things you see even in real modern day militaries. And I can say that because I served in the military for many years. So it's there are a lot of similarities, as funny as that may be, comparing a game to a real life. It's much closer than you might think if you've never experienced that, or if you've never been in the military. So it happens. Combined arms is happening. Whether you want it to or not, whether you believe it is or not, it's happening. Either you're doing it, it's being done to you, or you're watching it happen. The second part of why this matters is because combined arms typically, generally, is associated with large outfits. Because, and as you'll see, I think it'll become very clear to you why that is. Just because the amount of organization, resources required to make combined arms successful in a game like PlanetSide, where you're dealing with, you're not dealing with Call of Duty, where the max is like 64 players. 64 is some outfits on a regular day. So being able to employ forces, have the churn behind that to make it work, it's very, very complex. And as I said, in the Devil Dogs, we took that to a near professional level. It's just, in some ways, I wish we hadn't, because it takes so much time and effort, but it's what we enjoy doing for the game and for ourselves. So it has a notable influence on how live happens. It's not uncommon for a few large combined arm outfits to be the deciding factor in winning an alert or losing a continent, even depending on what time frame you're looking at. Went back when multiple continents could be fought over at the same time. A combined arms outfit pulling their resources from Amrish and then going over to Esamir, even when Amrish has the alert. Some of you might remember those frustrating days. That had a negative effect if they pulled out half the population of Amrish, and suddenly you're now getting double teamed, and you went from 50% or 30% to 10. That's very frustrating. So combined arms outfits has, just because of the sheer numbers and the size they bring, they have a notable influence on any fight they're in. And then last but not least, I needed to put this. I didn't want to, but it had to be done. To the people who say Zerg fits are nothing but Zerg fits, they may use other different colorful, insulting language. To them, I would say like I said, it's happening. This sort of stuff has been happening for many years and very successfully. As long as you underestimate it, you're going to keep losing to it. And I think after 10 years of this game being out, right, 2012, I think back when beta started, for as long as this game has been in existence, this has been happening. And this rift has been happening. The big chasm, I'd say, in many instances, where the language I hear being employed to describe both parties, it's just not really, so much of it I don't think is based in reality. So here is the reality of combined arms. I'm giving it to you right now. You can take it to the bank. It doesn't mean that this, well, let's go into the next, scope is a little bit further down. It doesn't mean that everything you see here is gospel. It's not. But I can tell you that this is the sort of stuff being employed in this game because the game allows us to do it, and many outfits have the resources to make it happen. So, yeah, let's get into it. So why am I even talking about this in some instances other than just the qualitative factor? I delved into the stats to see if I had any basis in reality, if my lived experience of PlanetSide 2 has also been what the stats show. And so I took two different stats. PS2 alerts, love it. Please support it if you're really into PlanetSide 2. Maelstrom does a great thing for the community by making this available. PS2 alerts tracks the stats behind every alert that happens in PlanetSide across all servers. So what I did was took the top 50 outfits and I organized them by capture here. You can see. So for the alerts and his stats for the moment only go back toward January 2021. So I took the top 50 outfits who have captured bases during alerts for the past year. And I then figured out which ones were large fits, which were small fits, which were mid fits. And this is the result. I thought it was just going to be a couple. Honestly, I thought that I thought that the small fits and the mid fits were going to have a much larger presence. Turned out 39 of the 50 outfits who have the most captures and alerts since January 2021, 39 of 50 are large fits. And as you can see here, as I defined in a previous StratSide, the Outfit Wars talk, a large fit is, to me, any outfit that has more than 500 players. So these right here, all of these in the yellow, they are all in the top 50 outfits capturing bases during alerts. They are almost all large fits. So that doesn't mean they're combined arms. What that means, though, is that something is clearly happening to where the larger fits have a very large presence. And if you're a hardcore infantry player and you're really good, your KDR is through the roof, even to me, that's not obvious that this was going to happen. Because the people who hold the points isn't just the people who flood with Zerg. It's the people who are really good at holding points. The professional, smaller outfits that can just blow anybody away in a 1v1. I would have thought that they would have much larger presence because they're the ones interested in capturing the points in the infantry play, which is where the bases are. But it turns out, most of the large fits are taking up the space. And as you can see, the further down on the list you get, the more you start to see the large fits aren't taking up as much space. But as I noted down here, all 11 of the ones showing here not being large fit, they all belong to the mid fit. They all had more than 100. A few of them had like 119, so they kind of on that cusp of small fit, mid fit, but they were all classified as mid fits. So that's interesting. And just to make sure I wasn't, blowing smoke, I also went to another source of data. Varunda he had a large repository of information stretching back for every base capture, alert and non-alert, for the past 6 months. So I tapped Varunda and said, hey, would you be willing to give me this information? Varunda, I need to make clear, this doesn't mean that Maelstrom or Varunda agree with what I'm about to tell you. It just means they were kind enough to present and give me the data so that I could then do what I'm doing now, figure out what the data is trying to tell me. And I don't feel that I'm misrepresenting the data. This is what it is. So here's what Varunda's data showed me. Top 50 outfits capturing every base for the past 6 months. You can still see a large overrepresentation of large fits taking up the space. But this time, down there at the very, very bottom, the 50th place, there was one small fit with under, I think that one had, Foxy's had under 50 players. So I don't recall exactly, but still 38 of 50 were large fits. So you can just tell just by looking at this, something's happening where the large fits are capturing the most territory. But let's say we look over here on the right hand side to PS2 alerts again, and we rank everyone by kills. I went through and I just kind of looked through the first 10, 20. Most of them are small fits. Most of these players, Anulos, Toliano, Phantom, HOZ, Mr. Chiffon. Most of these players all belong to outfits under 100. So the killers are overrepresented in small fits. There's some large fits here, but vastly small fits. But when you change it to outfits and by capturing, it totally flips. So there's that. And then when I looked at Outfit Browser, I saw that Outfit Tracker, I saw that there was a combined arms ranking. So I've taken a look at that, and right away I'm kind of confused as to how this is working out because all of these have under 100 players. So I'm quite sure that AODR has something to say about combined arms outfit ranking, having well over 10,000 members, and the number one outfit for combined arms is Beetlejuice with 89. I don't know about that. So that's where I'm kind of I think it goes along with the discussion our community has had over the past 10 years when it comes to Zerg fits, elite fits, sweat fits, all sorts of stuff that you would, all the pejoratives, all the insults that you would, if you're not familiar with the other side, that you might call them. Combined arms outfits, large fits are just as guilty of talking down on elite fits. And we do our very best to police it within ourselves, but, and it's the same on the other side. But I'm looking to bridge that gap, and the best way I can do that is presenting the data and then presenting to you the information that you can be sure is happening. It's not a question of if it's happening, it is happening. So, yeah, that's pretty much what the data says, and I was very surprised by the results. Just looking at a cursory look, and again, for the umpteenth time, this does not mean that all of these large fits are combined arms. That's not what that means. I just thought it was very interesting to start as a matter of fact. That's what the spread is right now for captured bases of all time within the time frame we mentioned. So, cool. Let's go into it a little bit deeper, and there's quite a bit. So, strap yourself in. Here we go, the scope of the talk. One of my favorite slides, coincidentally, because it helps set the boundaries. So what is this talk about combined arms? Who am I talking to? The talk is about the sharing of success that we have had, Combined Arms has had, implementing and using large-scale warfare. 96v96 fights and above, 48-48s, whatever you call it, large-scale warfare across a continent. We have been successful at it, not just the Devil Dogs, but as Combined Arms. As you can see in the data, large fits are an overwhelming majority of who's capturing bases. So that's what this is. It's the sharing of success of large-scale warfare. Vito, anything kills me, OP should be nerfed. Yeah, that's okay, Mavito. I'm not looking to change your opinion. I'm not looking to change anyone's opinion. I'm presenting to you the facts. This is what it is. This is what's happening, and this is a peek behind the curtain. When you see a humongous Zerg wave crash on top of you, sometimes that's exactly what it is. A huge Zerg wave. No thought behind it. Somebody's at the helm saying, charge forward, just crash. I'd say that it would be a mistake to think that that's a majority of the time. And you'll see how. Alright, who am I talking to? Anyone who is interested in understanding how to use 48 plus players effectively is a good word there. But if you're interested in knowing how this works, this is a talk for you. If you want to learn about the successes we've had conducting ourselves in large-scale warfare, this is the talk for you. What this talk isn't, this is not the definitive guide to combined arms. I did not write this for you, for anybody to take this and be like, well, this is what combined arms means. Nah. No. This is what I've been able to distill, what I've seen over the past 10 years, being a complete, almost utter combined arms player in an outfit that took it to the extreme, and you'll see what I mean. This is a guide. This is a resource. This is information. This is not a guide, the guide to combined arms. Don't interpret it that way, because that's not what I'm saying. And who am I not talking to? Anyone who doesn't value combined arms, you don't care about this, it just doesn't matter to you, you're not interested in learning about it, then maybe skip this one. This one isn't for you. Cool. Alrighty. Working definitions. So you'll see me use a lot of terms. Some of this is stuff I've already used in the Outfit Wars StratSide talk. So on the left-hand side, live definition hasn't changed. It's still the continuous battle. Combined arms hasn't changed. It's still the integrated use of all styles and components of gameplay found within PlanetSide 2. And it was really fun putting down on paper exactly what that means. You'll see. Small fits. I classify small fits as anything with 1 to 100 members. I classify a mid-fit as having 1 to 500 members. Large fits, anything with over 500 players. And there are a lot of outfits that are large fits, more than 500 players. It's one of the many reasons why I love this game. Hardcore. If you are a hardcore player or outfit, the way I define you is having a high membership or gameplay expectation. I've heard Lex talk about that a number of times during his stream, about the expectations that he has. And that's one of the many reasons why he says what he says. And that's okay. He's critical. That's all right. He has high expectations. I get it. Competitive players. If you're a competitive outfitter player, I define you as an outfitter player that prioritizes all the factors that lead to victory. So that could mean many, many different things, but you're in it for the W. That's not the same thing as saying you have high expectations. Thoughts for better gaming, REL, to me would be almost hardcore in that it has a high expectation of being a better gamer. But it doesn't exactly translate to going for the W. Going for the W could mean like what Nuck used to do. If any of you remember MLG era, Nuck had a near esport roster of 48 players they trained every day, almost every day if I recall, and they were intense. They were all in it to win. They wanted to win first place, and they were anticipating when MLG started their worldwide or global contest for PlanetSide 2 that they would be the winners. That is a competitive outfit. And hardcore. And then casual. Outfits players with few membership and or gameplay expectations. It's hard not to make it sound make it sound bad. I don't mean that in a bad way. For the Devil Dogs, we had, gameplay expectations, but it wasn't like you had to have at least a 1.0 KDR, or you had to have 1,000 hours of gaming, or you have to be active 1 day or 5 days every week. It's just come play with us. We'll have a good time. And that's combined arms in many cases. There are some exceptions. Like I remember Black Widow Company. I believe they were a large fit, but they had a activity level requirement. That might put them in hardcore. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think you get what I'm after. The difference between the three. All right, let's go here on the right-hand side. So here's going to be very specific to our talk today. Operations. When I talk about Ops Day or Ops, I'm talking about a coordinated effort by an outfit to achieve a goal at the joint level. A lot of words there, but basically what I'm saying is that's the day they get together. So for the Devil Dogs, we got our ops day was every Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard. It was that day every day, and that's where you would see just a gigantic amount of Devil Dogs on at the same time. That's because it was our ops day. Every other day was just normal, casual play. Joint level has a very specific thing, which we'll see here at the bottom. If you're a squad or platoon, if you play the game, you know this. A squad is 12, a platoon is 4 squads, that being 48 players. But a squad is the core fighting unit of PlanetSide 2, whereas a platoon is the large fighting force. Here we go. A division. Oops, I think I need to put that there. There we go. Cool. So what is a division? Division is very important for combined arms. It is a specialized, large fighting force, normally grouped in terms of specialty. So, for instance, an air platoon, an armor platoon, an infantry platoon, that sort of thing. Oops. So, air, infantry, vehicle. Vehicle, armor, same thing. But they're a large fighting force. Normally, you're dealing with at least 48 players or somewhere thereabouts. To consider a division, something that can field its own unit. Joint. When you are playing at the joint level, that is when multiple divisions cooperate together. That is also a core element of combined arms. You're normally dealing with divisions of units operating at the joint level across live play. So that's the air team talking to the infantry team, talking to the vehicle team, talking to the intel, construction, blah, blah, blah. Alliances. This is a new definition. I needed to conform it to the way I see Outfit Wars going and what Rel said was going to happen. By the way, watch the interview with Rel and Deeg. Totally recommend it. But in any case, Outfit Wars is going 1v1, is what's been put out. And also the implementation of Alliance per the roadmap. An alliance is when multiple outfits can join together on the same team. So, where normally I would call that, that might be assessed as joint or coalition, I'm now saying the alliance definition is when multiple outfits cooperate. Otherwise, I mean, when you're on command chat, you're in the alliance level. Coalition. Coalition is when multiple servers cooperate. You won't see much of that in this talk. That's just one level above normally what combined arms outfits operate in. But when you're dealing with server smashes, then or record smash, when we broke the Guinness World Record in 15, that was a coalition. Especially because we divided in terms of factions. So all of the VS factions across the server, all of the NC, those were coalitions of servers that were cooperating together in order for us to break the Guinness World Record, which, spoiler alert, we still have. So yeah. All this information is not gee whiz. All this stuff is being applied at the combined arms level. So, yeah. Alright, then we get into where a lot of the nitty-gritty will be. What do I mean when I say a goal? A goal is what you want. A goal is the overall want that equals success. So the thing that you want, when you succeeded, that's your goal. You've met your goal. So your goal may be, I want to lock a continent. I want to win the alert. That sort of thing. A strategy is the overall approach you take toward achieving a goal. There's a lot of different strategies you could use, but we'll get into that in a different slide. So it's the overall approach. You break up strategies into different little mini milestones, and we call those objectives. Those are your needs. That's what you need to happen for you to approach the want that you're after. So, objective, the steps needed to achieve a strategy. So, for instance, my objective might be, I need to take the crown. Or, I need to suppress an area, like a spawn area. That's your objective. It's in service to an overall strategy. Tactics. Tactics is the methodology. That's the way you go about achieving your needs, to meeting your approaches, to obtaining your wants. It's the way you turn your goals or objectives into reality. So, for instance, small unit tactics, room clearing, max crashes. Those are all tactics. Ways we go about it. Mavito, yeah, right on, man. Yeah, some of this stuff, I guarantee you, if you come into this discussion with Combined Arms saying it's all Illuminati, they're all Zerg fits, and then you come out saying, okay, there's more to it than I thought, that to me is the information that I'm looking to provide. I don't want to convince you of that. If you still think Zerg fits are Zerg fits no matter what, and there's no more to it than brainless thought, all right, I might not be talking to you. So, yeah. And last but not least, capabilities. One of the 500-pound gorillas on this slide is capabilities. It plays an essential role in the way Combined Arms can do what they do when you see them on live. This is your potential. When you've assessed everything, a capability is your ability to produce the results you're after when you commit the resources that you have at your disposal. Another way to look at capability is the potential for you to turn your goal into a reality. Potential is the key word there. You have the ability to do it, or you think you can do it. That's your potential. And where I use the word potential and not just like guesswork is you've assessed your ability. You think you know where you need to go. The potential is how well you think you can turn that want into an actual success. That's your capability. All right, so I think we've gone over all the most important parts. And we're 37 minutes in. That's okay. That's okay. If you've got that down, then you're ready for what's about to happen. Alrighty. Here we go. How do we approach Combined Arms? Diving right into it. At a Combined Arms level, here's how we approach Combined Arms. And again, Combined Arms, the integrated use of all styles and components of gameplay found in PS2. Right there. Bad Bane, you're ready. Alrighty, let's do it. When you're thinking about Combined Arms, you're really looking at what is available, what exists, what can I do with it. So the way I've distilled what we do is there's 4 different elements that we consider. We consider what players exist. And we already have a foundation for that. The casual, the hardcores, the competitives, the leaders, the ground pounders. What players are there? That's 1. Then 2, what assets are available? That's the things that you can play, touch, feel in the game. Things like vehicles, a Vanguard, or an orbital strike. Those are assets, things that you can use players to do things with. All right? Together, they make your resources. Now, you may have seen that word before when I said capabilities. When you commit your resources, it's your ability to produce results. You'll start to see it connect the dots. So players and assets, those are your resources. That's the stuff that you can do things with. Element number 3, information. All of these things are important. You at least have to have players and assets to do anything, or I guess you have to at least have players. I think theoretically you could run around the outfit, run around live just with your knives. You won't be very successful. Your capability won't be very big, but you at least have to have players. Otherwise, the rest of this does not really work. You also need to have information. In many cases, it's a force multiplier. Information is the intelligence gathering you do. Tells you the mass statistics. It's information. Seeing what the papa is. Knowing where the forces are in the enemy activity overlay. That's information. Having a lattice awareness. What connects with what doesn't connect with what. Used to be that everything connected with each other. And you could deep strike stuff, and that was the best time ever, by the way. But you can't do that anymore. You have to follow a lattice now. Being aware of that helps you with your capability. Then you have your methods. I mentioned methods. That's what you do, how you do things. So that's your strategies, your tactics, your training, your SOPs, your capabilities even. That's your method, how you do things. Methods and information, that is what makes your doctrine. Doctrine has many different words. Many different meanings. I don't really need to delve into it, but you see how that all flows together. The doctrine is the thing that you believe in. Yeah, I'll go with that. The doctrine is what you believe in. Resources is what you have. All right. What do you know about my SOPs? Right. Yeah. When I said that Devil Dogs takes things to an extreme, I'm talking about our training, our SOPs. I released the Devil Dogs base building SOP like a week and a half ago via Reddit. It's there, public use for you. It's like 38 pages, and that's the sanitized version. The non-sanitized version is many more pages than that. The Devil Dogs has a lot of SOPs. We have many SOPs for many different things. I created an SOP for our MLG team back when we were considering that. It was many tens of pages. We have many infantry SOPs. We have, and it delves down to things like how do you clear a room? How do you confront an L-shaped building? Armor, its own SOP. Anvil, which is our public platoon, its own SOP. We have many SOPs, and that form the backbone of our training apparatus, which is the many reasons why we're able to be so successful. I'll get into that, promise. So, you combine all these elements, players, assets, information, methods. You combine them all together, and what do you get? Capability. Because all these things are great, but what can you do with it? What does it actually matter to you that I have all these things, that we can do all these things? It's what you can do with it on live. So, you use your capabilities, and you do so by forming goals. Remember, goals is that overall want you want. Oops. Maybe I should have done that backwards, huh? Boom, 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 bam. So, you form your goals to match your capabilities to your needs. If that doesn't make sense right now, I have something that'll make sense of that. Then you take that and you deploy your resources. You deploy your resources in order to turn your goals into reality. You deploy them on live. That's where that happens. And that's where you make your wants into an actual reality. So my goal is to a continent. That's what I'm going to do. And you either do it or you succeed or you fail. Boom goes the dynamite. Yep. This one was really hard. I'm still not fully satisfied that I nailed this part right here, the capability part, but it works enough to where you can start to see the flow of how things come together. So out of nothing, out of all that PlanetSide is, we bucket players, assets, information, methods. We then take those things, we form capabilities out of them, and we then deploy those capabilities to live to make it a reality. And we either succeed or we fail. And that's what it is. All right. Next up. So now we're going to delve into each of those elements I talked about here. Delve it into it a little bit more so you can understand what we mean by those things. And this is what we're doing. If you're a small outfit or you're a mid-fit and you see the Devil Dogs crash into you with a couple platoons, we can't do that anymore, but we used to. Or another outfit, like nowadays, War Pigs maybe, or KOTV, AOD, Orc, Syndicus. If you see them crashing into you, not all of them are using what I'm talking about here, but they are using things that I'm talking about to take your territory and kill you. So yeah, here we go. Players. Element number 1. Players is who we use to win. I mentioned competitive, all that, but the way we use players, the way we break it down into something that's usable is, first, we in-process them. Some outfits, like ADK and No Fear, I believe. I don't want to misrepresent. I think ADK definitely used to just invite everybody. Oh, Free, FREE. They used to be one of the biggest outfits of all time. They just invited everybody. They didn't care who. Everybody. And as a result, you saw them everywhere. I don't think they had a very organized command structure, but they I don't remember them having an organized command structure, but they were there. So the in process is, how do you introduce yourselves to your players? How do you introduce the players to you? And then get them acclimated with your vision, how we do things, that sort of thing, what choices they have. Then we organize them into buckets. We get them together per playstyle and interest normally, but each outfit has their own way of doing things. And this org chart, let's get to that in a second. So we organize them. Once we in-process them, we get them oriented into what we are, who we are, what they can do. Then we organize them into the different buckets of whatever we're doing that we've organized ourselves, called an org chart, by the way. Then we train them, which is really just rehearsing what's going to happen on live. Nowadays, it's much, much easier with Sanctuary and... Why am I blanking? The place where you go to test everything. Oh my gosh, I can't remember it right now. Someone tell me, what is it, Em? That's funny. Not test server. Help me out. Whatever that place is. The simulation place. I'm blanking on it right now. No, not Jaeger. It's on live. And you can go to it other than Sanctuary. Don't make me jump in game. In any place. The place where you can go to where you can just... VR training. Thank you. Galenteth. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, VR training. Nowadays, it's so much easier to do trainings in VR training. It used to be much harder when we didn't have that, and you either had to do test server, which was anything everywhere, or live server in a very small part of the map where nobody was, like in the very, very bottom right of near the warp gate of Endar, something like that. But that's where you rehearse, you develop your standard operating procedures, which is the baseline of where you want everyone to operate. You start developing your best practices. Like, hey, if you're running armor, you should almost always run ammo printer, because it constantly gives you more ammo. So that's like a best practice. So then there's methods like room clearing. How do you clear a room? First person goes right, second person goes left, third person runs to back right. However your room clearing works, that's your training, your methods, and different class configurations. Like I mentioned, armor. If you're a Vanguard, you should be running ammo printer probably. And then you equip them, which is really make them ready. That's give them the proper leadership. Make sure they know how to use radio ops. Supply them, make available mentors to help them, and supply them with adequate direction. That's equipping your force. So, organize, train, and equip. For all you military people, yes, that's not a coincidence. Organize, train, equip is one of the 3 pillars of what leadership does, and also one of the main things that you are responsible for in many military units and leadership. You are organizing, you're training, and you're equipping your troops so that they are ready to perform and execute the mission. So then, when you have all that, it's time to do it. It's time to deploy. So what does this org chart have to do with anything? This is a visual representation of that organization piece right here. If you didn't have an idea of just how in-depth people like or outfits like Devil Dogs go, you'll start to get an understanding now. This org chart is a real org chart. This has been in existence for the Devil Dogs for many, I created it like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but it's been in existence on like forum posts or something in text-based form for many years. And it used to be much larger than this, by the way. I pared it down to make it more general. So usually when you're dealing with... Actually, let's make it... Boom. There we go. Alright, let's make it more of this. So normally, combined arms outfits, even a large fit, when you start getting more than 500 players, you start having a leadership, you have to organize and train, equip these cats, you need an apparatus, a structure that can withstand the sheer volume of players and coordination needed to make this stuff happen. That's That's right, no time. It used to be massive. You need a structure in place to facilitate all that activity. And it's called an org chart, an organizational chart. It is a visual representation of you, your outfit. So normally an outfit with combined arms is dealing with a community. I don't use that term loosely. Community usually means many multiple elements of entities. ADK, I think, took this even to a greater degree. They used to be like a professional community. I don't remember if they were 501c3, like business oriented, but I remember they had a very, more so than Devil Dogs did, a very well-defined community. And that's because they didn't just have a community of PlanetSide. They had many different games that they had community oversight over. And PlanetSide was just one of them. So for Devil Dogs, though, or just any combined arms outfit, more than 500 players, more than 1,000 even, you are dealing with a community, leadership of some kind. You know, those could be like your generals. At the very tippity top, they want to determine what is the outfit, what does the community want, what is our vision, that sort of thing. But then you can break it down into what I call groups. If you're military, maybe the core level. And that's almost like your organized entity by function. In this case, PlanetSide 2 would be a group. Public relations is, for me, I consider it its own group, and then IT, you know, your IT folks, its own group. Some outfits, they'll combine it, you know, they'll put this all under just PlanetSide, and that's their community level, and that's their group level. Okay, fine. But for the purposes of keeping it clean, this is the way I'm going to present it to you. You've got your community, your generals at top. You've got your groups, your IT professionals, which let's just move on. Your IT people, your PlanetSide 2 division, and then your public relations division. All right? So working down to your leadership position level, usually if you have need to put something like this together, you have directors of some kind. Sometimes they're called generals, you know, and that might be called something else, like dictator or whatever it is, council member. Oh, you know what? I do remember seeing that a lot more. So maybe council member, you know, they're part of the community council. But then you have some sort of director level who is responsible for that group. Yeah, VP of PR for the outfit, Bad Bane. Right on. So it's because you have enough things to do that you need someone responsible for the overall direction and making it happen. They report to the community leadership. And for PlanetSide 2, I highly recommend that you have a deputy director, just because of the sheer volume of activity that happens underneath. So yeah, be a deputy director, or have one if you can. But so for IT, you're dealing with the maintenance of TeamSpeak, which is a huge enabler of radio ops. It just, to me, it's de facto. It is one of the best ways because of their whisperless, LASTS, that you can communicate across multi-divisions and not just have it be total chaos. Communication's a big part. So radio ops, you know, the maintenance of TeamSpeak, the whisperless, the ranks, the permissions, the Discord, again, permissions, moderation, website, you know, the programming of it, the HTMLing of it, the forum management. So those are your IT people handling the many hundreds of users that you have operating these 3 forums. And again, if you're talking about players here, oops, it's all over here. If you're talking about players, that is the equipping thing. IT is helping to equip them with TeamSpeak and radio ops, that sort of stuff. Then you've got your PR over here on the far left. They are more dealing with the outward, whereas PlanetSide 2 is more about the inward. PR is external facing, like I just mentioned. It's about the the community exposure. That would be like your trailer videos or your outfit videos that you see. For PR. And then player retention. That's also inward, I would suppose. So that would be morale stuff. Making sure like you do giveaways or whatever your outfit, your community can facilitate. And then this one's a bit more controversial. Your public platoons. Your public platoons could be a part of PlanetSide 2 because at the end of the day, those are players operating in PlanetSide 2, but public platoons in many ways is the way that you go about recruiting outside non-outfit players. And you see, if you play the game, you know all about this. You've seen public platoons, you've been in them. There's no doubt that you know what this is. So I put that under PR. The Devil Dogs have alternated between PR, infantry. They put it under, I think we're even under armor or RRT. I don't remember now. But we've alternated it where it would be based on what we thought its function was. But for me, public platoons is squarely within the external exposure part and not really within the organized gameplay of the outfit, unless you're the Devil Dogs and you found a way to incorporate that in the way you take continents, which we did. And that's why I mean, it's cool. I love it. All right. And then the PlanetSide division. You've got your director, your deputy director. Again, you're normally dealing with a combined arms outfit that's large enough to warrant having these positions. Then you start breaking down into divisions, which are that specialized unit of gameplay. So you have your infantry divisions, your RRT divisions, which is your rapid response teams. Call them your Spec Ops, call them your SEAL Team 6, what have you. They go deal with very surgical problems. Then you have your armor team, your main battle tanks, your lightnings, your harassers. You have your air team, your ESFs, your libs. You could even put your gals or your Valks, your shirt pinatas. Then you've got your intel. Normally, I would say your intel should, if you have the numbers, be its own division. That's all your disruption, going behind enemy lines, hacking stuff, reporting on where things are. Intel used to be a much bigger deal back when redeploy side wasn't quite so prevalent and you had to be in galaxies or sunderers everywhere you went. You couldn't just redeploy. Gal drops were a big thing. So intel was a much bigger thing because it helped you to know that you had 4 galaxies inbound to your position, to Chimney Rock or whatever. If you had intel that could tell you that, then you could prepare yourself much faster and perhaps repel the attack. So yeah, and then the new kid on the block is construction, which is all the base building that you see. And this right here, the platoon sizes and all that, that's all going to be dependent on the size of your outfit, what you have the resources, the players to figure out and allocate. So I just picked a number, and as you can see here on the far left, this part here, I am basing this on 2016 population levels where we had about 6,000 players a night. This is about what I remember, and I conferred with other Devil Dogs that we could pull. Construction didn't exist then. Just ignore that part. We could have if we did. So that's what I'm putting down. But the current 1.9 thousand that I pulled a few days ago off Steam charts cannot support what you see here. So it requires a bit of capability triage. You'll understand what I mean in the coming slides. But this is based on 2016, 6,000 players a night, the different relative size of each outfit. It's not uncommon for you to see this sort of stuff happen. So you would have 2 platoons of infantry. That's where the majority of your players want to be, is infantry. The ground pounders. Your RRT, your rapid special missions type. Say, Regent Rock is suddenly under attack by a small force. You go deploy your RRT division to go whack them and get it back under control. I saw a lot back when redeploy side was not a thing and gal drops were the way to go. Scarred Mesa used to be where a lot of RRT stuff happened. And it wasn't just like Devil Dogs. A lot of special missions occurred there because of the way you had to get onto that platform. It was just the way things happened. So, do you guys DDoS with... Bad Bane, that's funny. I should say that no, that is not... Normally, if you're a combined arms outfit, you're not really worried about like literal hacking. When I said intel hacking, I mean like hacking terminals. But I know what you meant. No, we don't have a LARPing division that I know of. There might have been a few LARPers, but I don't know. I wasn't really into that sort of thing. So yeah, the majority of your resource allocation fell on the infantry. Then you had some RRT for the special missions, the ghost capping, that sort of stuff. Armor tended to be, I think, second biggest. Actually, that's not true. I think air was second biggest at the time. Armor maybe third biggest, but they're close third to second. That's where all your main battle tanks would be. All your lightnings, your sky guards, your harassers, your sunderers. Infantry might pull their own sunderers, but armor could supply that if they needed to. And then air, your ESFs, your close air support missions, your bombers, transports. The way you divide things up are dependent on what these. Why does that look so weird on the right? Oh well. Or what these things do. So for infantry, you're really only worried about squads. RRT, again, squads of players. In armor, you're really worried more about the function, like the capability. I can bring main battle tanks up. I can bring lightnings. I need fast attack, harassers. I need sky guards. I need sunderers. So that's kind of, it wasn't really like squad 1 is all MBTs. We didn't take it to that degree. It was just you had your platoon of armor, and then they divvied up as you needed to. And then air, I saw that same way. It's not like your air squad was squad 1. It might have been, but in most cases you have your fighters, your close air support missions, your bombing missions with your libs, and then your transports, maybe high altitude drops with galaxies at the ceiling level. Then you had your intel, and I normally classify that as like your home team and your away team. Your home was worried about the sniping, the disruption inside your own borders. The mines, planting mines all over the place. Hated those things. Or the away team, you're worried about sitting under warp gate to report on where gals are moving. Again, that doesn't really happen anymore because you don't need to with redeploying everywhere. Or hacking enemy terminals, prepping an enemy base for your infantry team to hit after you've taken, ISA, whatever. So, yep, and then construction. When even construction is a new kid, I transferred over to construction. I'm mainly a main battle tank player. I love Vanguard. It's my favorite of all time. And when construction came out, I went heavy into construction as well. So sometimes we got up to 2-3 squads of players, and that was just like a year or two ago. So that wasn't that long. And we constructed some pretty awesome bases. And as you can see in the SOP, if you look at Reddit, you'll understand that we brought a lot of capabilities to bear. And back when routers were a thing, they aren't anymore, but when routers were a thing, we had 24/7 routers up at our infantry fights. And that's how we just made your force multiplier when we really set our mind to it. So it was cool. But then you had your construction, your division team. So that's the way you can see just the division of labor within a combined arms outfit. And now we start moving these pieces across the board, like chess pieces. And yep, that's what it is. So that's the players part. Let's go now into assets. Assets is what you use in the game. This is what we use to win against you. Players is who we use. Assets are what we use. And if you're looking at this slide and you're thinking, that looks a lot like the entire game. Yes, that's right. The entire game is used against you by combined arms outfits to kill you and take your territory. That is exactly what we're doing. We're using every class we can, every weapon we can. We're using TeamSpeak. We're using Discord. We're using every resource. We're using every war asset, Colossus, Orbital Strike, Bastions. We're using even the settings. Potato settings are a thing. We're using the settings. We're using vehicles. We're using stats up the wazoo. We're using waypoints, utilities, implants, command chat. If it's in the game and it's allowed to be used, we are using it to kill you and take your territory. it looks like a massive wave of everything because you don't see the individual elements here at play. You know what? Here's something that just Twitch Studio Beta. It's really funny. They allow you to draw on your stream now. So ready? Watch this. We are literally using everything in the game to kill you, and we're equipping the different divisions here that I just circled. Let's do it again because I can't see it very well. There we go. We're using those divisions, equipping them with all of these things, and we're using it to kill you and take your territory. In a nutshell, that's 80% of it right there. If you didn't understand Combined Arms outfit, you should pretty much get the gist of it. I could stop right there because, like I said, this is not the definitive guide. There are many Combined Arms outfits. There are many large outfits that don't even use Combined Arms. Like you'll see, or that you did see, Trident, for instance. Trident, I have huge respect for Trident. Love them. One of my favorite VS outfits, along with DPSO. DPSO uses Combined Arms. Redolent and Slatter, the bros, they're awesome. I love them. Redolent is a 2-time server smash champ, by the way, being a force lead. Very, very well expert level when it comes to like Combined Arms type stuff. And Trident, as they so eloquently told me last night, they don't really use Combined Arms in the way that I'm using it here. They kind of just they mass up and they assault. And they told me that when they get into armor, they really just throw themselves up against the next territory and just crash into it. Kind of like, what's that movie? Dang. That movie when they're on Mars and like Jarks, I think their name was. Jedarks, whatever, from the Mars movie. Right? Jarks don't fly. Like, that's the way Trident was. Like, we just get in, out lightnings, and we just ram ourselves up against the enemy territory, and then we just go ground pound. And it works for them. As you can see, they're top 50 when it comes to capturing bases. It obviously works for them. So they do things different, but they're still using a lot of this game to kill you and take your territory. Tharks, that was the name. Tharks don't fly, and the A Princess of Mars, that was the name of the movie. So yeah. Yep, we're using it all. Everything that's allowable, by the way, not like real DDoS hacking. No, we're not doing that. That does not fit within the vision of the Devil Dogs. Maybe other outfits, but probably not. Hacking, again, we're the average player. We're not hacking. So it's just, we don't need to. We just drop platoons of players on top of you. That's what it is. We're taking your territory unless you can meet us, and with the same amount of players, or a strategy that just is awesome and is able to Helm's Deep yourself to keep that territory. So, yeah. Yep, settings. Even settings, we're using it to kill you. Oh, also wanted to say, kudos to Orc, by the way. I think they're 2 years old, like Syndicus as well. But Orc made it top 50, being in base captures. Awesome. Fun fact, Orcs are led by Thraka. Thraka is one of the people who, when I had Eternal Crusade, if you're aware, Eternal Crusade was Warhammer 40k, trying to make a PlanetSide version. It didn't work out that well. They just didn't have the resources that needed to make it happen. But I exported PlanetSide battles to Eternal Crusade. I called it Eternal Battles. You can still find the matches that we did on YouTube. It was like PlanetSide battles that I helped co-found and PlanetSide, but I did it for Eternal Crusade. And Orcs, led by Thraka, was one of the main guilds. I don't remember what we called them, but one of the main guilds that was consistently playing in Eternal Battles lane smash type events. So yeah, I keep meaning to talk to you, Thraka, on live, but every time we just miss each other, and I'm not able to say hello. But in any case, if you're watching this, yep, I'm Lanzer. That's still me. So yeah, element number 3. Element number 3 is information. What we use. Oops. There we go. Which is basically how we know what we know. How do we know that we're about to get 3 gals dropped on us? How do we know that we need to attack this base next? How do we know that we're about to get 2v1'd? All that stuff. We are using everything that's publicly available that we can. We're using the lattice on the map. We're using Steam charts to figure out what is the pop. We're using the Empire strength indicators in the map. We're using the different region statistics, and also things like outfit tracker, PS2 alerts, all sources of information that we can use to figure out how can we use these resources that we have to the best of our ability to win. That's base timers, knowing what base timers are, knowing what a heat map is and how we can use it to our advantage to figure out what sort of enemy allocation is being used. Like a heavy emphasis on Regent Rock. We know that there's not a very hard emphasis on the Crown, so maybe we want to take that instead. Lattice flow, knowing what bases connect to what. Best practices, which are all the different strong and weak setups and configurations that we know work. That's and we implement them in our standard operating procedures, our SOPs. Having the intelligence needed to employ these things successfully. Enemy activity, knowing what their class mix is, knowing what their fighting strength is, knowing where they are, like what their position is, and just that way informs our strategies and what strategies would be effective with this sort of enemy setup, our setup. Let's use the scoop maneuver. Let's use a flanking maneuver. Let's do whatever. Let's just blitz them. Max crash. Statistics, user activity, faction population, most taken bases, knowing which bases are normally the ones that people go for, the ones that aren't normally gone after. And then game mechanics, knowing when alerts get triggered, knowing when a continent gets locked, knowing what settings, like potato settings, help you versus not help you. All that sort of stuff. Big tower. Crown. Yeah, like it's like the seagulls. That's funny. That used to be a thing. It's not anymore, but it used to be a thing. So that's the information we use to kill you and take your territory. And last but not least, the methods. What strategies, tactics are we using? So this is the one I didn't get into at the time because there's just so much here. I just distilled it down to what I knew immediately off the top of my head. There's so many other ways that this could go. So, how do we win? First of all, you need to establish your best practices. In order to do that, you need to uncover your best practices. This is one of the ways. These two things are the ways that Devil Dogs went overboard. We scienced the crap out of everything. We would test everything, and I'll show you what that means later on when we scienced out when the Bastion came. Before we had our first Bastion ops, we scienced everything about that Bastion. We knew exactly where the Bastion was on the map, traveling at full speed, where we should orbital strike in order to hit every point. We knew that. We knew, hey, hit it at 2/3 of the next hex, you'll hit the first point if you orbital strike, when it is at the last quarter of the previous hex. That's called sciencing. It's used to uncover best practices. Hey, if you put a Citadel shield on top of whatever, it will let you do this, or it'll block out. But if you put it a little bit to the left, it'll allow you to peek and poke out of the top platforms to where they can't shoot you if you duck back in, but if you duck out halfway through, you can still hit and not fall down to your death. That's sciencing. And we crystallize all that science into an SOP, which is a skill set that we're using as a baseline to engage you. So all of our infantry, we're training them to the SOPs, that baseline that we've established on a Google Doc or whatever. That's the training that we put all of our new people through. Like I mentioned, and the players, that's our in processing. We're introducing you. We're showing you our SOPs. We're training you up. And for the Devil Dogs, we had a radio ops ribbon where you had to go through a 1 to 2 hour training SOP for you to be certified radio ops in order for you to be considered eligible to wield all of these divisions by yourself. So at the top of this is someone orchestrating, like a chess master, putting chess pieces all over the board. You needed, in the Devil Dogs, you need to be a certified radio ops certified radio ops and certified command in order to wield that resource in that manner. So there was a set baseline we wanted you to know. Then we set you on your way. You could volunteer to be a command after that. Then we would prepare you. So that's where all of our pre-ops meetings came into play. So like I said, Devil Dogs, we did our Combined Arms event every Saturday at the same time. Before that time happened on Saturday, we would have our pre-ops. We would have our senior NCOs meet. Then we'd have our officers meet. That's where we would synchronize our efforts. Command would say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you all think? Good idea, bad idea. Then blah, 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 blah. Here's the continent we think is going to be open per the current cycling of alerts. And we have no idea what warp gate we'll be in. But if we're on this warp gate, we'll do this. If we're at this warp gate, this, that. Had our plans going on. Then we would set up. Usually about 10 minutes before actual ops started, our outfit would gather in the warp gate. We would do all of our radio checks on radio ops, make it all good to go. Things are ready to hit deploy, pull the trigger. And then we would allocate our resources. So that would be the art of knowing, hey, we only have a platoon of infantry. We have 2 platoons of armor. Armor lead, can you ask if there are volunteers to go into infantry today instead, because we need more players to ground pound and push our strategy? Got it. Command will ask, figure that out. That's called resource leveling. So we would level our resources if need be, and because we're an outfit where fun was the main factor, we would ask for volunteers. And that's how that went down. So we would allocate our resources, assess player counts to strategies, make sure things were good, and rebalance if we had to. Then we would coordinate. So as things are going, things are popping off, we're on live. That's where divisions would frequently be communicating with one another to figure out, hey, I am here, you are here, let's attack this. Hey, this thing's coming, you should attack this, or I need you to defend against this. Whatever, that's them communicating with each other. A simple explanation would be, hey, infantry, you have a 4-gal drop coming your way. And then infantry would be like, oh, shoot, air, can you go strike that target and kill them before they get to us? That's them communicating. And usually, the better we could coordinate and communicate, the better our ops went. Because a chaotic communication with hundreds of players makes for a very, very, very bad time for most players involved. So, the art of facilitating the free flow of information up, down, across, that was of paramount importance to our divisions and our command, so that we could effectively implement strategies. And so here we go. Communication. Spilling the beans. In communication, you have many different assets, different methods you could use in order to ensure your communication is fast, fluent, clear, concise. One of the ways you do that is separate the channels from each other. So don't put your infantry in with your armor players. If you have 50 infantry players, maybe divide them up per squad. squad 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that they can self-communicate, because maybe squad 1's attacking A point, squad 2 is attacking B point. Do they need to talk to one another? Maybe, but they don't all need to be speaking at the same time as things are going on. Battles get very hectic. Each squad is under attack. They're threatened to being wiped. They need to communicate in order to stop that from happening. You don't want those channels being mixed together, otherwise you have chaos. Some outfits can do that. TRG, the Republican Guard, Sardis used to lead them. They used to be really good. They might argue. And Hammered nowadays is more of a relevant example. They all tend to be in one channel, and it works for them. It didn't work for the Devil Dogs. So we separated our channels, and that's where the whisper list of TeamSpeak came into play. We called this radio ops. Battle comms is when you only allow the communication that is relevant to the battle. You do not include the communication that's not. So, for instance, all the whining and complaining you hear, that's battle comms. Cut that out. If it's not about shooting someone, killing someone, winning, losing, if it's not pertinent to where you are and what you're doing, I don't want to hear that you think whatever player is crappy and that the rebalance and C4 is overpowered. I don't care. What I care about is, how does that affect our objective to winning, taking the territory, killing the enemy? That's battle comms. The most bare essential to what you're doing. Then radio ops. Radio ops is how we effectively communicated between divisions. We used whisperless. It was very effective. So you'd start out TeamSpeak. Here's about how radio ops went. So we'd start out on TeamSpeak. We'd all be separated into our different channels. We'd all be utilizing battle comms. So command, which is so here I put the command as director. It can be, but doesn't have to be the director. Command is the person at the very tippy top. They're the one leading ops that day. They have command of all the divisions. Here, all the divisions down below. That's command. In fact, I should probably put you right there. Make you bigger. Okay, you look kind of weird right now, but I think you get the point. Oh, you know why? It's because you're not colored correctly. Let's color you. Boom! There we go. Problem solved. So, command, the little warp gate symbol there, is the one in charge of all the divisions for radio, for ops. All right? They're the ones figuring out what the strategy is. All that jazz, okay? So command gets on the horn of radio ops, which is the whisperless. If you have radio ops enabled, you're the only ones that can hear it. So normally you have a radio ops per division, maybe even per squad, because you want to listen in. If you're in the military, that's your comm person. Your comm person normally follows the division lead around, and division lead says, hey, get on the horn. We need to put a strike out here. Then radio ops gets on the horn, says, hey, is anyone available? Blah, 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 and that's how it happens. Basic communication. So command gets on the horn to say, yo, all you people, deploy. Do your thing. Here's where I want you to go. Then they go do their thing. Also, command hops on command chat and says, yo, this is Devil Dogs. We're moving to Isotech plant. We're going to take the middle of Esamir. Just to let y'all know. And if there are any other outfits on, then we'll maybe coordinate at an alliance level. See what I mean? But then command sets down at division level. You're moving chess pieces across the board. And so you say, hey, Anvil, which is our public platoons, I need you to go to take left of Isa. I don't remember what that one was called, but left of Isa. Anvil goes, got it. I'm on it. Infantry, I need you to go take Isotech plant. Infantry says, got it. On it. And then RRT, I need you to go take Timbuktu onto the right because it's being ghost capped. RRT says, yep, got it. We're going to go drop on it in 30 seconds. But then that's when things start happening. No initial plan survives contact with the enemy. And in the chaos of war that PlanetSide is, it just doesn't work out all the way that you think it does. So that's where the communication, that free flow, needs to happen, because when infantry platoons get to ISA, they figure out, there's already 2 infantry platoons, and they're TR. I'll say I'm NC. They're TR. So there's 2 enemy infantry platoons. Also, they have a giant presence on top of the mezzanine. Hey, air, can you go strike that target? I need you to remove all of the stuff they have on top of the mezzanine. Maybe they found a way to fit an anvil Sunday on top, or maybe they have a router. Whatever. Air, this is infantry. Can you strike that target? Air goes, yep, got it. Tell me what I'm hitting, where I'm hitting, and then they have that communication. Again, that's all the while while the infantry are talking among themselves. They're trying to fight while their radio ops person is talking to the radio ops person of infantry. They're making that connection. Hey, there's a router on top of mezzanine south, very tippy top. Can you strike it? Do you see it? Air's like, nah, I don't see it. It's not there. Infantry's like, I know it's there. We keep getting hit by people falling down from the mezzanine. We know there's something up there. Oh, shoot. There's a stealth Sunday. Then Air's like, all right, we got it. We'll strike the target. That's like that back and forth that's happening while you're trying to commit all your resources to taking ISA. Then Construction's like, hey, we've got our bases up, our stealth router bases up. We're ready to put a router down. Where do you want it? This is all pre-router nerf that just happened, by the way. So infantry would be like, yep, we need a router on A point. We just took it. We need heavily reinforcements before we can't get back to the A point fast enough. We need it right on top of A. Construct's like, got it. I'm inbound. And when Construct had 2 or 3 squads, we were just churning routers out like a factory. I understand why you who were on the receiving end were so annoyed by this. We would have routers around the base, like, because they had radiuses, you couldn't put 2 next to each other, but you could put them 450 meters apart from each other. I can't recall right now. It's been nerfed. You can now only put them within 50 meters of a module, which is kind of ridiculous, especially since 50 meters, the no deploy, no construct zones the no deploy construct zones extend far past 40 meters of a base, so it's kind of OBE now. I feel like there's a middle ground there that should be had, but whatever. In any case, construct, got it. We're going to put some routers down. Or, hey, we just erected 2, 3, 4 phalanx turrets. Where do you want us to hit? Hey, maybe we can hit the mezzanine instead of Air. And Air can go figure something out. And at this point, Air is being requested by RRT to help them in Timbuktu land because they encounter heavier resistance than normal. There's this Sunday they can't dislodge. It's, G8, keypad 3, right underneath the overhang. Can you hit that? Air's like, we're helping infantry clear mezzanine. Construct's like, nah. Go ahead. We just erected 4 phalanx on the mountain regions. We can hit the Sunderer. We have full view. Go ahead. Air's like, got it. I'll go help out RRT. And then they go do that. Meanwhile, Armor, patrolling all of Esamir, or in this case, probably ISA Tech Plant, to try and find stealth Sundays or engage enemy armor columns to make sure they're not a problem for our infantry. They're all over the place. As soon as they see a lightning or a main battle tank or an armor column, you bet it, we're engaging. And that's what I was for the majority of the time. I was armor. I did a lot of anvil, many anvils, and then I converted to construction, and I'm all 3 whenever I feel like, really. So armor is patrolling everywhere, engaging everything it can to make sure infantry's life is that much easier to fight. So armor, intel is forward-leaning. They're up toward the warp gate, or they're at the next hex enemy territory. They've seen enemy armor column pulled. Our armor doesn't see it yet, so armor radio ops into to the intel, radio ops into armor and says, hey, armor, this is intel. Inbound enemy armor column coming from north of you. 12 main battle tanks, 3 lightnings, 2 sunderers, how copy over. Armor's like, yep, got it. All tanks face, let's go take it out. And then that's how we knew where things were, because we've got people on the ground figuring out, or command on the ground figuring out where things are, what players are in motion, how do we tell our own people what's happening. Yeah, Mavito, thank you, 500 meters. Where are things so that we can put our things on their things and beat them down. That's the name of the game. You think it's just a Zerg crashing on top of you. Do you realize the sheer complexity of the stuff that we are putting into emotion in order to make it look like this giant wave? That's exactly what modern day militaries do. Spoiler alert, that's precisely the goal. To make it so overwhelming that all you can do is just look in shock as you're being assaulted. So Desert Storm, back in 2000s-ish, that was the objective, and that was a successful objective. It was an onslaught, and it worked. So, that is what we're doing. And if it looks that way to you, and you're frustrated by it, yep, we are literally, that's what we're doing. So then Anvil is like, oh no, we are adjacent to ISA, trying to, help infantry take the wing hexes, the bases to the left and right. We're under attack. Our Sunder keeps getting killed. We just have a bunch of puppies. Hey, Armor, can you come help us? Armor's like, yeah, we got you. After we take care of this armor column coming from the north, we'll come take out the Sunderer, and then, bam, that's done. RRT, they're all doing RRT things, running all over the place where command says, yo, Ghost Cap here. 12-person squad here. RRT, go take care of all these little go-dos that the infantry is too engaged to tear away from. Infantry needs every player they can get. Sometimes they are up against a force of 96 that matches them, and they cannot spare a squad to go off to some random border base to take that down. That's RRT's job. So if RRT needs help, they'll request help from a fast-acting unit like Close Air Support, Wing of the Air. And in the meantime, Command is doing its thing. It's moving chess pieces. It sees, oh, shoot, TR just took all of their forces away from ISA. They're now attacking VS. VS is now taking all their forces. They don't care about the attack from VS. They're just assaulting us from their end. Now we're going to reposition assets. That's Command. And then they go on Command Chat and say, hey, can you guys help us with this? Can you people help us? And then they redeploy assets, and the cycle starts all over again. So, that's the methodology. That's what we're putting into effect. I frankly don't care if it if you think this is happening, if you don't believe it's happening, it's happening. Take it to the bank. Not everyone does it the way we do it. Not everyone does it the same way, for sure. But these elements are being employed on live. This is how we make combined arms work. So, on the right-hand side, methodology. So we're also incorporating visions. Like I mentioned, maybe the vision is as simple as we want to provoke an alert. Normally, if the vision is dealt with by the command, whoever's operating all the divisions at that time, they have a vision. And usually that's a familiarity with the meta. I know that if I provoke an alert, that if I have the most territory, I'm going to get 2v1'd. Hopefully, I'm not on the one end of that. But if I am, I know that usually the meta goes that I'm getting 2v1 to the last 30 minutes when the other faction realizes the third faction has a boatload of territory, and then it shifts. Now we're 2v1. I'm on the 2 because I have the least amount of bases. Now I need to start taking territory in a hurry if I want to win this alert. Boom. There we go. The Twiga? Yeah, command chat can be hard to deal with. But when command chat works, it works. It works really well. And then we're incorporating all sorts of strategies to win. And it's just these change over time. They're called different things, but generally, we have the scoop method, which is just this angular taking this progressive front that we're scooping out of the map. Or we can take and consolidate something, which is take something, build up, get your bearings, then go to the next base. We're leapfrogging. We do this maybe when we have many platoons of infantry, and platoon 1 will take this base, then platoon 2 will leapfrog and take this base, platoon 3 would leapfrog, like blah 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 blah, until we're just alternating. Sometimes it happens when there are really tough fights and you don't have enough time to just take and hold, but you have enough time to let one platoon rest while another platoon is moving out. Encircling, which is taking all the territories surrounding Isotech plant or whatever you're taking at the time, and then severing, which is when you cut off an entire lattice line, just usually by taking one territory, because nowadays the lattices are very consolidated, so you can take lattices quite easy just by hopping a lattice line. You may have just severed, especially Amrish, you may have just severed that entire line, and everyone there at the bottom end now they're in trouble. So that's severing. And then different tactics, which is the way we go about doing things, right? Using different class mixes. The Max Crash, which the Devil Dog still claims ownership of, having invented it in PlanetSide 1. But then you also have, the right mix of engineers, light assaults, heavy assaults, medics. Always need more medics. That sort of thing. Flanking, flanking is, flanking, hitting them from their weak side. Constant pressure, that's just a total overwhelming of shots on target. Usually in the armor platoons, constant pressure is this every shot you're taking. And because you have ammo sundies and ammo printer, you can just be an infinite source of shots on target, and that suppression has a pretty notable effect on the enemy, especially if you're suppressing the spawn. So you would constantly put pressure on the spawn if you could. Blitzing, like the Max Crash, like I mentioned, it's just usually a rush of resources of some kind. Interdicting, that used to be really big back when gal drops were a thing from Warpgate. You would really be looking to find out where those gal drops are coming from, so you can apply either Burster Maxes, Sky Guards, or your ESFs to interdict that incoming force, to interrupt them mid-action. So that's interdiction. And then area denial. Overwhelming firepower, that would be like a spawn. You would area denial the outside of the spawn, or apply a orbital strike to a point. That's called area denial. Yep. And then uses of alliances, like I mentioned. This comes in waves, at least on Connery, it does, of how in communication and in sync different alliances are with each other. When that becomes an actual mechanic of the game, which Rel intends on putting in per the roadmap, then that will become less subjective, which is what it is now. Like, you would have a TeamSpeak that you would give access to all of NC Connery, and then that's where you would be on while you're on in your own TeamSpeak, whatever, or you just use command chat. That used to be a much bigger thing. Nowadays, I don't hear command chat that much. So, yeah, that is the method. That's how we win. And here is a screenshot of the SOP I released on Reddit last week. Yeah, and you can see our SOP talked about our mission and overall strategy. The mission of base builders, which we called Construct, was a Construct division. It was to draw resources, attention, and enemy players away from important fights. Its mission was to interdict enemy armor in air by constructing bases that could kill them before they got to their target. So that's interdiction. Creating additional sources of air and armor terminals for friendly units to pull resources, use the Cordium instead of their own resources. In some cases, if the fight was big enough, we would give armor and air an infinite supply of ESFs, lightnings, harassers, and they would take it, and just suicide and kill something important, pull another, and just cordium that's being constantly resupplied by the construct team. It was cool. When it's up and running, it's awesome. And then supplying forward fights with additional spawn points. That used to be routers. Now that it's been nerfed, that mission has been degraded severely. Still workable, but not a lot harder now. You need a lot more support to keep a base closer to the enemy fight, to keep a router that's relevant to that fight. So, that's that. Okay, so we've gone over, at this point, the gray boxed area. The players, the assets, which we call resources. I'll refer them as resources now on. Information and methods, which I'll refer to as doctrine. So those are the things we're doing. Now, let's get into one of the fun parts, which is capability. How do we go about turning all this stuff into things that we can do stuff with? And here's how we do it. The application of resources. So, I'm not really using the second one so much. How about we just use one edge? Can we do that? Yes, maybe. Let's fix this up a little bit, because the text is going to start getting a little bit hard to read. Whoa. That's not what I want. Let's go with, let's turn you off, let's turn you off, let's turn you on. Nope, wait. Let's turn you on. Alright. I think that's it. And then let's put you in the middle, like so. Alright. Alright, cool. What if I make you bigger? Nope, because then you can't see because of chat. Let's go with that. Right there. Right there, right there. So here we go. Yeah, I did. I'm telling you. It was frustrating for me to hear really good players on podcasts and different videos say, I don't understand how this is happening. And they wouldn't say it like that. Some of them would just be downright insulting about it, the Zerg fits. And they would just, crap all over it. Here's how we're doing it. And when I sat down originally, I thought it was just going to be like 9 slides. Joke's on me, closer to 20. But this is what we're doing. I want there to be no question that Zerg fits are that term is misused in a big way, and now you see why and how it's used and misused in a big way. If you're talking about Zerg fits strictly from the perspective of a mindless Zerg just pointing and shooting, some outfits deserve that, and they own it. That's what they are. That's what they want to be. A lot of outfits using combined arms have a much more thoughtful approach, and you losing to them isn't because they just applied numbers to you. It's because they applied numbers, people, information, methodology. So, yeah. Mavito, what outfit are you from? Oh, Blue Lions. I remember Blue Lions. I really liked their logo. It was really cool. Mavito, what outfit are you from? And go ahead and sound off, because I can see the chat. So I'll just sound off what outfit you're in. Go ahead. So here's the application of resources. This is how we turn theory information into something that we can use, a weapon. This is how we turn things into weapons. This is our smithing table. All right? So you have a kind of a two-pronged approach. So you have all these things. You have your resources, you have your doctrine, you have your goals, you have the game. How do you put it together to make it something you can deploy onto live and do something with and kill, take territory, lock continents? Well, first at the top left, you have to start really putting faces to names. You have to start listing things out to create capabilities. When you have capabilities, you know you have a weapon, all right? When you have a need, you have a target. So you have to put everything together so that it makes sense as a capability that satisfies a need. So here at the top left, you have your resources, which is, like I said, what do we have? You ask yourself, what do we have? And assuming the 2006 prop level, again, it's much easier to formulate this in that context when resources were abundant. Can't do it nowadays, or at least you can't do as much nowadays, but that's what I'm approaching it as. The Devil Dogs and many other outfits would have something like 22 squads, which is about 5 platoons at their disposal. So 4 of those are Devil Dogs. They're actual outfit members, and one of them is our public platoon. So when I was a part of Anvil, I would start up a public platoon, and I would just mass invite everyone I could. It would take me maybe 10 minutes, and I have a full platoon of puppies ready to fight. So we just plussed up our platoons by 1. And I would use proximity chat. And if you set it up right, you would have a public platoon that would act in cohesion. There would be, people who would not pay attention, but you could really effectively manage that. And when our SOP taught you how to do it in our Anvil trainings, how do you use Anvil in a way that contributes to the goals, right? That's the whole point. How do you use anything to contribute? But here's what we have at our disposal. We have 4 platoons of Devil Dogs. They're all broken down into the divisions. We have 1 platoon that is a public platoon, so we can kind of use them for whatever we would use a public platoon for. Almost like a pseudo-infantry platoon. All divisions are present. That's our infiltrators, which is our intel team. Oh, I'm sorry, that's infantry. Our infantry team is ready to go. RRT is locked and ready. Armor is all pulled. Air is floating in the warp gate, ready to storm out the gates. Intel is already pre-positioned at the enemy warp gates or already disrupting enemy territory. And construction is building their bases already. They have their ants all stocked up on cordium, ready to go. So then you have war assets. They're stocked. Our anvils, which is coincidentally the same name, but you know what an anvil is. It drops. It gives you an asset. You have your Steel Rain, which used to also be a Devil Dog tactic back when the instant action was a thing, but not so much anymore. You can't really do a Steel Rain as much, but it used to be a big thing where you would just Steel Rain all over a point or all over a tech plant or whatever, and you could drop entire platoons of Steel Rain manually. Nowadays, it's a lot more. You can automate that Steel Rain. Then you have your CS. Shoot. Your orbital strikes. What was CS? Oh, Citadel Shield. Right. How to kill 12 maxes in 45 seconds. Right. Oh, you're all AODR. Nice. I love AODR. It's one of my spirit animals, in my opinion. I love AODR. AOD, y'all rock. Emerald TR. If you're on Emerald TR and you want to organize play, AOD. Check it out. Thanks, my man. Thanks. Yep. AOD. Love it. So you have Citadel Shields, Orbital Strikes, your Colossus, your Bastions. So then at the start, maybe you haven't plussed up on all your war assets. Your weight is 225 of 300. You know that, and your resources, you can plus up more. Maybe you can put in some modules. You can put in another Steel Rain. You can put in another Orbital Strike if you haven't maxed them out. That sort of thing. So that's what you're approaching it with. This is what you have to do with. Doctrine. What do you know? So as a Devil Dog in command, in charge of all those platoons, with 216 Devil Dogs and 148 of public platoons, I know that 216, about 85% are SOP trained, meaning they know about the base. They have in their brain the skill set baseline we need for them to know, hey, go to mezzanine, battle comms, all the basics of operating in a platoon for the Devil Dogs. I'm pretty sure about 85% of them, they're trained. They know what they're doing. 15% are probably new. They and in order to equip them, you put them and you spread them out among the different divisions so that they can have all the mentors and all the access, receive all that information through osmosis. So, hey, all my people are pulling vanguards at this, I should be doing the same thing. And they'll in TeamSpeak, in their sub-channel, they'll be like, hey, what should I be equipping on my vanguard? And then, while we're doing our thing, forming up and getting ready to roll out, we're like, hey, put on halberd, put on stealth, and, the rest is up to you. Hit it, let's go. That's that. Doctrine. I also know that Amherst Warp Gate is about to open up when this continent locks. I hope I'm on South Warp Gate. If I'm on, here's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, population is NC 38%, TR 30%, VS 30%. So I know I have an overpop advantage, which can also be used against you because maybe that you're more likely for a 2v1, and you being on the one end. That sucks, but at least you have overpop advantage. And also, who is active? Who do we know is currently out there? As a NC Connery, if I know DPSO is active, I know that there's an enemy combined arms out there in the works. So to be a little bit more cognizant of what the enemy's doing. Merc, man, I hate Merc. I love him to death. I love Merc at all. They've been a lot of server smashes. Love Merc to death. Lepelos, my man, salute. But if Merc is on the battlefield, I know I need to pay close attention because they know what they're doing. There's a lot of killing power. So I need to be careful. They're really good pilots. So I need to inform my air wing, hey, Merc is on the loose. They're over on, west side. If you don't have to fight them, don't. But make them come to you. Make them play your game. That sort of thing. Know what I mean? That's the sort of thing that command is going on, or that air wing already knows is going on. They have, the whole Sky Knight, Air Knight thing, that's like its own industry. Y'all have your own thing going. I won't even pretend to know I'm a terrible pilot, except when I'm gal dropping at ceiling, and that's fun. But, I'm not an ESF pilot. I'm not even a lib pilot. I can barely Valk pilot. So, cool. And then also knowing how much do I need to trip an alert? How much force do I need to apply? How many numbers do I need? That sort of thing. How much empire strength do I need to have? Yep. So, all of that, you start mixing your ingredients together, and now you're creating capabilities. The core tenet of what you can do as a combined arms outfit is your capabilities. Because if you have all these resources, if you know all these things, and you can't do diddly squat with it, you are ineffective on live. You are combat ineffective. You might as well just be running around in Sanctuary. So, capabilities are specific. They're like SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're timely. I'm missing a letter. Specific, measurable, I gotta look this up. It's killing me. I recite this stuff all the time in different settings, but I somehow blank. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. Your capabilities pretty much follow this. I am a unit, so I am a vanguard. I can hit X number of targets X times per X minute. So in reality, I am a Vanguard. I can hit one target 2 times per 1.5 seconds. So whatever that maths out to per minute, I can hit a target many times per minute. Especially if I have a reload speed inserted into. So if I have 4 Vanguards, I can hit many more targets, many more times per minute. That's how we achieve just the mass of overwhelming firepower for like armor platoons. Is focus fire. One Sunder is getting hit by like 12 AP rounds. It's going down very fast. It doesn't matter how many reps you have on it. So yes, achievable, Bad Bane. Your capabilities need to be achievable, otherwise you're ineffective at what you're doing. So, I can defend against X number of people with X number of troops. RRT perhaps can defend against 24 players against 12 public players. Otherwise, they can defend against 12 enemy players with 12 RRT players because they tend to be our better players. RRT, they're more competitive. I can take X number of bases with X number of platoons in X number of minutes. I can suppress a respawn for X number of minutes with X number of assets. So I can suppress 2 spawns with 3 squads of armor. Actually, no, that's probably overkill. I can probably suppress 2 spawns with 2 squads of armor. If I had to, 1 squad. I can divvy them up and just shots on target. And very few people are getting out, especially if it's 1 squad of main battle tanks on one spawn room. So that used to be a thing for like, not biolabs, not tech plants, amp stations. You know what I mean? Where they could pop out at different places. So I can destroy everything within a radius of blank using an orbital strike. I don't remember an orbital strike's radius. 100 meters, 500 meters, whatever it is. That's the sort of doctrine that you might want to know if you were a major user of that. But I can destroy everything within a radius of blank using an orbital strike. I can destroy a main battle tank in 2 C4s, 3 or 4 if you have the flanker. I can supply 2 spawns for 4 squads continuously with 6 construct people. That's your capability. I can do this with this. Alright? So that's 1/2 of it. That's only half. You have capability. In some instances, you can just apply capability and see if it works. But if you're like us, like the Devil Dogs, you go further than that and you start developing your goals, your needs. So you start here with your goal. And usually that can be command saying, I'm looking at the map. Here's the information. What do I want to achieve? What do we want to achieve today for the next 4 hours? Okay, I want to be the outfit that captures half the bases for this incoming alert. I want our faction to win, so I want NC to win the alert. I want NC to lock the continent, and while I'm at it, I want to improve relations with Syndicus. Those are my goals as command. If you're smart, no, I'm not gonna put it like that. It would be smart for you to also do a reality check with the game. What does the game want me to achieve? Because that goes a little deeper than it's just take a territory, kick butt, take names sort of thing. The game wants you to achieve things. It has a certain mechanic. Killing isn't really the mechanic. That doesn't really do much for you. You have to take the point takes the base takes the continent locks. That's the mechanic. So, what does the game want you to achieve? It does want you to kill players. There's a reward thing behind that. It wants you to capture territory. It wants you to win the alert. It wants you to lock the continent. But also, because this is a social game, not only a social game, but a social fabric is very important, there's also the social aspect. What does command chat? What are they yelling for? What does your alliance want you to do? What is the coalition want to happen. Excuse me. So there's a social aspect to that, that could influence your goals. And then lastly, the contextual part. Like, for me, that would be on Connery. What was it? The TR, the Choral Accords, the Choral Accords, I think it was, where VS and NC decided to only attack TR for a whole month because TR War Pigs decided they wanted to. I can't remember what they did, but they tried to do something, and it teed off some of the VS and NC outfits to say, "Hey, we're just gonna 2v1 you for an entire month of live." Like, that's contextual type stuff. So yeah, my Prowler has more base caps than your kills. Yeah. It's very, very hard. I didn't say that in the beginning, did I? Ooh. It's very, very hard to bring out a stat that conveys the effectiveness of a combined arms, especially in comparison to an infantry player, where KD headshot ratio, I think they call IVI. I don't recall what that means. Like, that's very important to an infantry player. How often do you headshot? How many kills do you have? That sort of thing. Like, right now, I'm number 1 across the whole game for Vanguard R-Heat kills. R-Heat was the rewards for the recruitment. I got it. I got the R-Heat, and I'm number 1 across the whole server. That doesn't really mean much of anything to combined arms. It's just cool, you know? I made it. I'm still there. And for as long as I'm number 1, I'm number 1. But when I'm number 2, We also had a player who was number 1 for lightning kills across the whole server. Much more impressive. Mine was just R-Heat weapon. But he might still be Jaden. But, you know, he is a killer. He's really good at killing and lightning. So, but did that mean anything for combined arms? Only for what it could do for our capability. Maybe we can hit 1 extra target because he's playing. You know what I mean? All that does is just impact our capability to help us better fulfill our needs. So, we have our goals. We've checked them up against the game. And now, let's form our needs. The needs is the yin to capability's yang. You have a capability and you fulfill a need. The need is, what is our objective? I need to suppress this spawn in order to capture this base. I need to take this base in order to take the continent. I need to reach X% territory control in order to trigger the alert. I need to distract the enemies from this area, and I need them to focus on this area instead, where I'm stronger. Those are all needs. So now, here's the job of leadership when it comes to game day. I need to match my needs with my capabilities. That is what I use to commit my resources on the battlefield when I deploy to live. That's it. That right there is a secret sauce. You're looking at it right now. Combine your resources and your doctrine into capabilities. Combine your goals and all gaming aspects into needs. Match your capabilities to your needs, commit your resources, and make it happen. You either succeed or you fail. That's the name of the game for combined arms. So, right, Mavito, I need to take this base or my sergeant will be disappointed in me. Like, there's an emotional aspect. Like, there's so many ways you could take this. Again, I just distilled it into what made sense to me and my lived experience these past 10 years. I think this makes sense. In a perfect world, even in a non-perfect world, this, I think, is almost, or the vast majority of what is available to combined arms. I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing I didn't even think of. But if you do this in a combined arms, you are able, not only do you have a structure in place to facilitate many hundreds, thousands of players, to make that simple, easy, concise, to where you provide direction and leadership, you now have things in the game that you forged into weapons. You put those weapons in the hands of your structured leadership and your people. Boom. That's why you see AOD taking entire continents. That's why you constantly see yourself losing to major large fits. Whether they're using some of this or all of it, they're using something, and they're kicking your butt because they're able to effectively implement this in live. Even, I mean, I love AOD. Like, I totally respect what y'all do, and even small fits, large fits, outfits, competitive, hardcore. We're the community. I want to build us up. I'm telling you this not just because I want to say, hey, look at all the stuff that we can do. I'm sharing this. I want you all to make it better. If you want to. If you don't, do your thing. But I'm making this available because this is what's happening. Whether you know it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, this stuff is happening in live and has been happening since beta. I'm just putting it to paper so that you can see visually how the flow happens. Figure out your capabilities. What can you do? Figure out your needs. What do we need to do? Put them together, commit your resources, and make it happen. That's the application of resources. So, almost done-ish. Yep, almost done. So I need to now divert to talk about strategies, tactics, and objectives. So now you know what all that means. Now you know what's happening on the background. In the background. When I say strategy, what does that mean? When I say objectives, what does that mean? What are tactics? How do we use them? Now you're at pre-ops meeting, you're ready to go, or this is even game day, you're on live. What does it look like on the battlefield? Here it is. You have all of your divisions ready to go. Your infantry, your RRT, your rapid response team, your armor, your air, your intelligence, your construction, your public platoon, your command. Your command is part of the structure. So command, they're at the warp gate. They're planning stuff. They're looking at the map. They're seeing stats. They are then telling each division where to go, what to do. Hey, infantry, I need you in the midst of this fight. Go. Anvil, I want you on one of the sides to hem the enemy TRN, push them toward our main infantry force. Just make sure you present yourself as a united front and shore up that right flank. Armor, support infantry. Air, do close air support missions all over the battlefield where the fighting is happening with us. Intel, go to the next base, hack all the terminals, disrupt their communications, disrupt their movement, put mines all over the place. Do your thing. Construct, build your base, make it ready so that it can be useful to us. And RRT. Hey, there's a base down there that VS is trying to take. I need you to go imbalance that back towards NC. Make sure it doesn't become a problem for us because I don't want to have to divert platoon over to Zervin. I want to hit Rashnu and go up to Mao. So that's how this is working. And kind of one of the strategies, like I said, the scoop effect. And this would be kind of a reverse scoop. You're kind of like zigzagging back and forth. But, you take this base. Now you go over here. Oops. Now you go over here to take this base. Then you go back over here to take this base. Then you go back over here to take this base. I think it's Crossroads over here. That's like a reverse scoop. You're scooping toward the enemy as you take territory. Now, all while this is going on, like I said, no initial plan survives contact with the enemy. It is a fact of life. In real life, and also in a simulated war game where large-scale warfare happens. I heard one time PlanetSide described as StarCraft with units that shout back. Sometimes things just go wrong. Your players aren't able to make it happen. The enemy is too strong, or sometimes they just mess up. One time we had an armed platoon, we accidentally lemminged over a cliff and most of us died. very embarrassing. I'm pretty sure there's a video of it out there somewhere. We weren't paying attention to where we were going, and we all just died. So we had to re-pull. Obviously, that objective we were trying to meet didn't happen. It got delayed, had some second, third order effects that command had to account for. Okay, you all died. It took you 10 minutes to get there. I don't want to waste another 10 minutes, so now I'm going to move you over here to the left. Whatever. Now you have to move anvil, or your public platoon, your air. You just have to shift. So while that's happening, the mechanism people use, and this is a military mechanism, by the way, very well known in many militaries, is called the OODA loop. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. Loop means repeat. The OODA loop is a mental mechanism that you use after you've hit deploy and go to the end of the game. The OODA loop is the way you deal with things that happen that don't go the way you want them to go, that need changes, that affect your play, that you have to react to. All the stuff that derails your plans, use the OODA loop, and the OODA loop will help you deal with it. So first up, observe. So as you started out, you've made your initial deployments, everybody's out where they need to go, they start fighting. You start observing how that fight's happening. Is it going the way you want it to go? Is there enough people? Is the enemy force too strong? What's happening? That's your observe. Then you orient. Is it happening the way I want it to happen? Is this going to plan? That's your orientation. You're orienting to your surroundings and your environment. Then you decide, yes, this is going the way it needs to go. I shouldn't change anything. That's your action. Or it's not going the way I need it to go. There are now 96 prowlers attacking my infantry. They're getting annihilated. I need to change that up. I need to either flex, drop RRT on their face with C4s, put air deep into the enemy territory to do close air support missions, make our liberators do bombing runs, all sorts of stuff. That's my action. I now need to act on the decision that I need to make a change. Then do it again. This change I just implemented. Observe it. Is it going the way I want it to go? Do I need to change up my change? Decide yes or no. If I do need to change, all right, hey, the bombing runs didn't work. They pulled burster maxes. They OODA looped. They pulled burster maxes and blew our ESFs out of the sky. So let's blitz them. Let's do a gal drop. Let's do steel rain. Let's orbital strike. That's the OODA loop in process right there. It is the continuous monitoring, orienting, deciding, and acting in order to be victorious, in order to win. Yeah, like a good day. It is. 96 Vanguards is a good day to me. I love my favorite battles were the ones that happened in the stretches between Vanu Archives, Regent, and Crown. Back when those large armor battles took place, when Devil Dogs had a whole armor platoon, we were loving it. It was the coolest thing I have ever played in my entire life. Just sheer, it was so cool. What was it called? Oh, I didn't put that there. So yeah, as that's happening, if you OODA loop correctly, if you're able to respond and adjust, this is your result. You lock the continent. You win. You just made your goal. You just achieved your goal. That's everything firing on all cylinders. Excuse me. That's your result. Victory. This is normally the lens that a combined arms outfit at a large fit level, 500 more players, is operating at. We're not worried about taking a point so much as we're worried about taking the hex, so much as we're worried about taking the continent. Because we have the resources to apply across multiple bases, we now can think at a higher level. That's the wrong word. We can now think at a different level in order to incorporate those many assets in one concerted strategy towards a goal. So, blue, that's bad. Yeah. So, if your OODA loop worked, if everyone was able to overcome their obstacles, you lock the continent. That's it. So, that's kind of like a side, here's what you do with all that stuff. But now let's go to game day. So, it's now ops. Everybody's ready to go. You're now in the thick of it. And you've deployed your forces, taken into account, as I said, I relied in order to do the, what's it called? In order to do the theory crafting, I had to take in the 2016 6,000 players a night sort of thing. But Ops Day, say next Saturday, that's where all this theory, that's where theory meets PlanetSide. We don't have those numbers anymore. Devil Dogs, for instance, we don't have those numbers anymore. The server, or I'm sorry, the game now has about 1,900 people a night here in 2022. Relatively speaking, that means the Devil Dogs are pulling a platoon if we're lucky. 2 squads, 3 squads. So our ability to, our needs, our capabilities no longer match the needs that we're used to being able to fulfill. So we have to now triage our capabilities, which is which capabilities are most important, match them up to which needs are most important. That's the best we can do. So we've effectively triaged our capability. That is where theory meets PlanetSide. What you think you can do, here's what you can actually do. So we're using everything on live. We're using our players and assets. So we're using our resources. Oops, oh shoot. Oh, okay. Using our resources. We're using our doctrine. We're using it to the best of our ability, and we're doing stuff. We're using the OODA loop in order to make it work. And as I mentioned, the end result, if it's worked correctly, you've warp gated the enemy, you won the alert, you lock the continent. But like I said, when theory meets PlanetSide, it doesn't always work out that way. So for Bastion Ops, that happened 2 years ago. That was when Escalation hit and the new Bastions came out. Everyone was loving it. We had planned it far in advance, making that happen. I think. Yep. So I did sanitize. So for Bastion Ops, we had 3 objectives to take. We only met 2 of them. We were not able to win the alert, so we failed in our overall goal. We met the first 2 objectives, which was keep the Bastion alive for 60 minutes, so before it returned back to orbit, and then gain 100 Empire Strength in order to start the alert. But this is what I mean when I say we took it to the nth degree. The weeks ahead on test, we timed out when we could orbital strike enemy bastions as they were crossing the grid marks on the map. So, for instance, if it was moving vertically, so if it was moving this way, horizontal is better. If that bastion was moving horizontally, when it was in the middle, when it was in the middle of this hex, with the back 5, when the back 5 hard points, that's the wrong way. When the back 5th hard point was in the middle, if I struck that next grid line, I would hit the front hard point. That's what we had scienced out. So we had already met with our people to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're pulling a bastion for this ops. We called it the Bastion Ops. So this is how many people, how many hard points we have. This is how many turrets it has. This is how long we'll have it for. These are the different F1 positions or F positions that you have. This is the kind of the turrets were like Dalton dusters, that sort of thing. So this is what we can do with the Bastion. Here's how we're going to do it. we need everyone to stick within one grid of our bastion at all times while we figure out how it plays. So that's what we called bastion ops. Like I said, we didn't win the alert. Theory met PlanetSide. We were only able to meet the first two objectives. We did, however, our bastion racked up a ton of kills. Within that 60-minute window, I had killed 323 players. I think that was me. I can't remember if that was one of my mauler, not maulers, one of my turret people. I'm pretty sure that one was me. And by the end of that, I had killed 323 people in that bastion that I was driving. So here's an example of what we were looking at when we were at Snowshear Watchtower. I was positioned down on top of B point, and at that very moment, I had just put some suppressing fire on B point so that you can see squads 1 and 3 had now jumped on C point, excuse me. They jumped on C point to claim it after we destroyed their Sunderer. We replaced it with our own, and I had effectively bombarded the top of C point to clear it. Now, as you can see, infantry is requesting that we bombard the garage over to the west of A point. That's what I was about to do the next few seconds, where I would then target my maulers to that location because that's where the next enemy Sunderer was. That's theory meeting PlanetSide. That's the deployment of our forces and how and you can see air. There's air. And I guess you can't see it now, but there's all sorts of galaxies and stuff that we had surrounding us, and our Squad 3 was on B, Squad 4 and Squad 1 was on there. We had already had A point, so this was our base, looks like, so we were defending. Yeah. But that's it. That's it in reality, what that looks like. So I wish I could say that this, what you're seeing right now, that this is combined arms. No. I'm going to take a different track. I wish that I could say that from a command view, when you're at the tippy top, you're moving the chess pieces all around the board, that this is what it is. I'm unfortunately or I guess fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, when you are command, you're the person moving the chess pieces. You're not on the ground shooting, fighting. You're not really able to partake. I just so happened to be able to because I was in the bastion, and I thought, we were trying it out. I thought we could handle it. But most of the time, when you are command, moving those chess pieces, this is what you're looking at for 4 hours. You're in the warp gate, looking at the map, talking on TeamSpeak to try and issue orders and move the players around. Move the divisions around. This is you on command for 4 hours. Some people really like it. I loved it. I love, I said I was an armor player. I'm a construct player. Also an anvil, which is our public platoons. I love doing those things. There are some times I would volunteer to be command and just be a chess player on the board. But I didn't like it as much as some of the others who were constantly doing it all the time. There are heavy hitters like Wilhelm, Dees, Iacton, Garlock. They would do it all the time. And I know there are many others. I apologize, I can't remember everyone. But over the 10 years of Devil Dogs being in existence, or I think longer than 10 years, there have been so many people at command doing this job every week so that all of these players and these divisions could play, have a good time, and be led with clear, concise direction. That's what they're looking at. And I know to a degree, AOD, that your people at the top are doing the same thing. Even when running public platoons, you still have to have greater map awareness in order to make sure your people are having a good time. If not, then, well, they start to leave. They start to make their own fun. So you have to really pay attention to things that just aren't what you consider the fun infantry play or fun armor play. You really have to give yourself up to do that. And if you love that sort of thing, maybe you're not the highest KD player, but you are a master at deciphering statistics and activity and moving pieces and acting, counteracting, then that's exactly what happens. So that's how the Devil Dogs has been so successful over the years. I just revealed it to you. All of the ingredients we used, I put it out for you to see, not to spill the beans. Like I said, I want to share this knowledge. I want to share what we do. I want to build bridges. I want to build the community. The game's not dead. As you saw the Reddit post last week, it's dead, Jim. As you can see, the game's not dead. We equal Call of Duty, or is it Battlefield? We equal their numbers each day. So we're not dead, but it's definitely not what it used to be. We all know this. So you have to adapt. Whether we're adapting to 2016 pop activity levels or to 2020 today, you can bet, take it to the bank, Combined Arms is being used all over live. It's just a reality. And when you're getting stomped with 48 players with the same tag, some of it is because it's just a Zerg, someone yelling in proximity chat saying, "Everybody go to Regent Rock!" But it could also be a multidisciplinary platoon of multidisciplinary force, highly trained, highly equipped, that knows what they're doing. That doesn't mean their KD is 5. It just means that when they're coming together, they're able to take your territory away from you. They're able to kill you more in the aggregate than you are them. And they're able to lock a continent and move on. So, in summary, Combined Arms is used all over live, like I just said. You ready your force. In Combined Arms, you ready your force by developing your capabilities, by developing your needs, and remember, capabilities is your players and your assets, which equal your resources, your information, your methods, which equal your doctrine. You develop your needs, which is the formulation of goals, and you compare those goals to the game. Like I mentioned, the social aspect, the mechanics, that sort of thing. And then you do the hard work of matching your capabilities to your needs. You deploy your forces. Ooh, forgot to put that part, huh? You commit your resources by deploying them to live. Oops, that's spelled wrong. You commit resources by deploying them to live. There we go. Use the OODA loop to deal with things that happen on live. And then if all things go according to plan, profit. Make your objective. Make it happen. It's all done. So, yeah. That was 2.5 hours. That's actually okay. It's a little lengthy, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it lasted 4 hours. I had spent all last week streaming as I was developing this. So if you were watching me the last week, I was actually constructing this PowerPoint presentation on Twitch Live. And it really helped me, I think, revise it to the way where it's not 4 hours long or 5 hours long. I was able to really make it what it is now. Oh, thanks, Mavito. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I would love to see that. So yeah, special shout out to PS2 fandom. I don't even know. I think maybe 60% of these images here come from PS2 fandom. I don't know who is behind that, but you all are killing it. That thing has everything I could ever want in when it comes to information. Love it. It's really cool. So I imported a lot of icons and stuff from PS2 fandom. Huge shout out to you all. Also shout out to Varunda and Maelstrom. You all provided me with that data. You didn't have to. I know that you may not agree with everything I've said. I totally understand that, but thank you for giving me the data so that I could see what the data was telling us and just make sure I wasn't blowing smoke. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that this is accurate and not just what we've been doing, but that my lived experience matches the stats, and they definitely are. So that's a thing. Here's a here's a screenshot of our Bastion fleet carrier right as we pulled it for the first time for our Bastion and the outfit, and then our armor plating, which, spoiler alert, is our armor. Our armored up galaxies were a big help in soaking up damage instead of our hard points. So lesson there. That's what I wanted to go over. That's combined arms in a nutshell, in its totality, comprehensive as I can make it. So let's go the last bit of this. Let's try and get us out of here. Is the previous and upcoming. So I've done 4 StratSides at this point. The first one was a deep dive into EG7's acquisition of PlanetSide 2, and I went over the business sense. I have an entrepreneurial and business background, so I was able to delve into those slides, and it was awesome. It was so revealing what the intentions were of EG7. Since then, there's been some huge changes. Robin Fladin is no longer the chair of EG7, and the CEO is now G Ham, and his vision is different. And from Robin Fladin, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's definitely a different focus, and we're seeing last year how that played out, and the reassessment, the realignment of resources, so that they could kind of fix some of the things that had happened. There was some massive over-reporting of numbers while EG7 was acquiring us, and it made it look like things were much better than they were. So that didn't come out until the transition started happening, and G Ham really went to work refocusing toward a new vision, and I got to see some of the financials the past few quarters of how that played out. It looks like they're really headed toward a sustainable profitability centered around IP development. And as you have seen in a Reddit post of probably last week, I think as well, that EG7 released their last quarterly, which by named PlanetSide as being one of the next IP developments. So I've been keeping track of all that. So I will be doing an EG7 update. It's very different from what I delved into and what I theorized would happen when Robin Fladin was in charge, because I listened to all of his YouTubes, figured out what his vision was, and then applied that to what I think would happen to PlanetSide. That didn't happen. G Ham has a new vision. I'm able to interpret most of what he's saying and how it relates to PlanetSide. I think I have an idea of what's going to happen, and definitely now with the roadmap, I see the parallel, the dots being connected. So I'm going to provide an update probably at the end of this quarter, maybe when the new quarter comes out, and just make sure that I'm on the up and up. I also did something on the next Outfit Wars, which is a lot of like cultural influences, different player types, like the Bartle player, and that was really fun. I enjoyed that one a lot. A lot of culture type stuff, and then I went over Community Manager. I really think Community Manager is a big enabler for our community, for building it up. I put together a list of very specific, measurable, attainable things that if I were community manager, I would instantly try and do once I've checked with the team. And I've applied to be community manager before. Community manager is currently open again. I believe Mithril is moving over to the communications division, more social media type stuff, and the community manager role is back open. I've applied again, waiting to hear back to see if I've made it, or if they've went a different route and chosen someone else. I really want to build this game up with the community. I'm big into it. I want to create something that really motivates the players and the outfits to want to play this game every day. And I think I have a pretty good battle plan for how to make that happen. And I talked about it in StratSide 3. And StratSide 4 was this one, Combined Arms, how to use it, what it is. Yeah. Thanks, Slash. Appreciate that. Flashy, by the way, if you have not watched the Echoes of Vanu, I highly recommend it. Love it. Flashy is a very talented animator. And Season 2 should be released, later this year, I think. Really cool script. I think it's going to work out really well, and he's currently working on it with the rest of the team. So what's upcoming? I have nearly locked in a nice, cool guest interview. I'm not going to say who it is because I haven't locked it in yet, but I'm looking forward to this one. I think we'll have a great discussion, and that should be coming up here in the next week or two, I imagine. Then I think I'll get to the EG7 update. I'm going to do an update of the community management of PlanetSide. It's probably going to be a bit more, it's going to be less schedule oriented, which is what StratSide 3 was. I showed here's all the things I'm going to do. Here's the schedule for how I would do it. Here's who I would do it with. It was very detailed, like a program manager. I want to focus more on the community manager role and just how important that is in making sure our community is strong and giving us tools to promote this game, to expose it to the world and make it easy for our content creators, our streamers, our players, our outfits, everybody from A to Z. Make it easy for them to brag about this game. There's so many of us who are doing crazy cool stuff. Like Shocktor made Twitch partner last year. That's so cool. The first one to do it. We broke the Guinness World Record in 2015. We still hold that title. That's so cool. RadarX gave us the tools to do it. That's the sort of stuff that puts us on the map. It keeps us on the map. And for a game that's 9 years old, I think that's important for us. And we have a very veteran community, very passionate. Even our harshest critics, even the ones who are just downright insulting, there's usually nuggets of truth that's coming from their passion of the game, that they want to see this game be better. And that's the part I want to tap into. Every single one of us, we play this game because we want to, because we have fun. Some of us have made it a job. and if Combined Arms, it can be a bit of a job sometimes. You know what I'm talking about, if you know. So, yeah. And then Game Designer 2021 edition. This was based on my Reddit post I did, which was really well received. I think it cracked 100 uptokes. I was surprised. I thought Community Manager was going to do that. But Community Manager made it 40, 60, whereas Game Design cracked 100. A lot of people really liked what I thought. Again, I'm not a game designer. That was if I were a game designer, if I had those skills, here's what I would do. And I had wireframes and screenshots. I'll probably end up doing a presentation version of that here one day. MMOs and MBGs. I wrote an article about this back when I've written I think 40 articles that have been published on different game news sites. One of them was MMOs and MBGs, match-based games, which is your COD, your Battlefield, your MMOs, which is your World of Warcraft, your PlanetSides. How these two mechanisms play into PS2 meta. I kind of went into it a little bit for the Outfit Wars. I think it was, let's take a look. It was this slide here. No, that's a heat map. This slide. I went a little bit into the match-based stuff, the open world thing, whereas Outfit Wars is very match-based, and where you have a definite end beginning, and then you kind of go into a little instance. that sort of thing. So, but there's a deeper conversation that I love having about the MMOs and the MBGs and how PlanetSide 2 combined that into its meta. And then there's Elite Fits and Zerg Fits. I love talking about this topic. It's just fascinating to me. Like I said in a previous discussion, I used to hate Future Crew. They used to be the number one outfit before Recursion. Future Crew was them. Like Scourge of the Server was the number one killer on the entire game for a very long time. I used to hate them as a player, and then when I co-founded Server Smash and we co-founded PlanetSide Battles, and we started doing Server Smashes, Future Crew was one of the outfits that consistently played in Server Smashes, and that's how I got to know them better. You know, Taz, Scourge, and they just I started playing a little bit with them on live because they were Connery as well, and they were just people. They're just cool people, down to earth. And I ended up realizing that my hatred toward them was my problem, not theirs. They didn't do anything to deserve it. And they're just people playing the game who happen to be very good at clicking heads and killing. And I was really, I got a good check that my thought of them and the other Elite Fits were purely speculative based on my idea of what I thought they were. And when I got to know them better, it evaporated very quickly. And when I would hear Elite Fits talk about Zerg Fits on Reddit, on Twitch, because your Elite Fits are more likely to be the producers of things, in my opinion, like your streamers and that sort of thing. And the way I would hear them talk about us, the Zerg Fits, it was just disappointing. And the same way that I thought about Elite Fits. So this is one of the main things I was hoping to fix with Elite Fits and Zerg Fits. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to fix anything. I just shared with you the way Combined Arms works, which isn't even a Zerg Fit. It's a facet of it. So there's a larger conversation to be had. And when I listened to Deeg's interview of Recursion a long time ago with Sale, I can't recall the two others at the moment. Sorry about that. They were very humble about how they talked about what they do, and I really appreciated how they talked about the place of Zerg Fits and how larger outfits were important to the game. I think they're both important, and I appreciated them saying that. And one of my objectives here was to share information. So it's to help break down that barrier where other Elite Fits maybe don't have that same perspective or don't have that same appreciation. And yeah, here it is. If you want to listen to it, I hope this helps. And if not, then thank you for the ones that did. Nay, that's right. So, again, yeah, I think I've said a lot so far. I'll put in some, when I upload this to YouTube, I'll put in the nice little markers so you can see per slide where we are, and yeah, thank you all for your time. Shout out to AOD. You guys, you all came out. You represented. Way to go. So we've reached the end. 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed this StratSide talk about Combined Arms and how it's used to win on live. Thank you all very much for your time. My name's Lanzer. I main NC Connery. I'm usually a Vanguard player. Sometimes I'm also leading public platoons, and I also do a lot of base construction. So, and I also, AOD, my ult is TR on Emerald. So sometimes I'm playing with you all, and yeah, cool. Definitely. Thank you, Mavito. Thank you, Galenteth. Thank you, Flashy. Thank you, Bad Bane. Thank you, No Time. And I hope you all have a great day. See ya.
You found me, huh? Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
It's not hard to find me, honestly, if you're looking in Emerald. I always roll with AOD. Usually I'm in a Prowler. Man, I love the lockdown Prowler. It's so cool. I wish the Vanguard had a lockdown. It would just make me a behemoth. But alas, can't have everything. That's my favorite thing about Prowlers. Just the rate of fire is enormous potential. When you have a bunch of Prowlers firing on a target, it doesn't matter if you have a Vanguard shield. You're going down hard. Yeah, no, double barrel. I wish my Vanguard had double barrel. And honestly, if it weren't for the if it weren't for the rest of things about TR, I would main TR. But there's a lot about TR that I don't appreciate as much as I do NC. NC is just cool. I love NC. They hit hard, and yeah. But that's why if I ever go over to Emerald, I'm playing TR. So, yeah. I do really like the teamwork of TR. I appreciate that more than I do the teamwork I found on NC. Y'all's ability to just mass a point and take territory, yeah. That's right. Bonus check, baby. Shout out. See y'all. Yay.